back for Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Sir Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Sir Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that! On by Paul Teller, off for a hat-trick, he's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day, and Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby!
Here's Benson, can he go on the outside? Comes inside, top shot!
Oh, the goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest instalment here on Turfcast podcast with me, Joe Remond, after an impressive win against Leeds United, a much needed win against Leeds United. Not that we haven't been great this season, but it's a win against a relegation rival that we just needed after a tough fixture list. It really, really was. And obviously last week on the channel, we had Claret's legend, Robbie Blake. When I was chatting to Robbie Blake towards the end of it, I promised you guys some more Claret's legends. And I'm pleased to introduce another one who you can put alongside Robbie. As I said last week when I was talking to Robbie, there's two players of fans of my generation, 30 and above, pushing 40. Your favourite players are either Robbie Blake or it's this man, Glen Little. How you doing, Glenn? You all right, mate?
How are you, mate? You're right.
Yeah, really, really good. Thank you.
Following
Really
Robbie
good.
Blake, yeah, it's not bad, is it? I'm in good company.
Yeah, really good company. Obviously, I don't know if you managed to see the interview with Robbie last week, mate, but obviously last week with Robbie, it was like a sit-down interview. We chat about his career. Obviously, it's a little bit different with you. Just to let everybody know, what I'm going to do with Glenn is I'm going to get him on every couple of weeks because Glenn is a Claret's legend, of course he is, but he's also now a BBC Sport pundit, does regular stuff for BBC Lancashire, was at the game against Leeds on Saturday and regularly follows Burnley with Lancashire. So you're more of a pundit these days and a legend, aren't you? So we're going to get you on to chat about sort of like what's happened at the weekend and things like that.
Yeah, it was a great weekend for me. I don't know whether you know, Joe, I was celebrating my 50th birthday.
I did see that because Paul put some pictures up. Paul put some pictures up. So I did see that.
Time go, and all those memories I've got, it's just getting older and older. But I can still remember most of them. But the amount of people who said to me, how do you feel 50 and feel more like 60? I said, no, more like 60. But yeah, it was a really good weekend. And obviously when you win as well, when at the game, it was a big one because you just said in the preview there about the fixture list. I remember a couple of seasons ago with Vincent Kompany when we went up and I saw the fixture list then and I thought, oh, what a bad start that is. And I don't know whether you remember it was the 3 home games because of Luton. The ground wasn't ready. Yeah. It was very unusual, wasn't it? And it was basically you lost to City, you lost to Villa, you lost to Tottenham, conceded a lot of goals, and you were pretty much sort of mounting to climb up against the 8 ball, and right from the very start. And then it was always a bit of a struggle, and we were never really involved that season, and ended up going down as we know. But great to bounce back last season. Scott Parker coming in, getting 100 points again. I said that the Vincent Kompany season, well, might be once in a lifetime stuff, but there you go. 2 years later, happened again.
2 years later, we've done it again,
Yeah, although I don't know whether the Scott Parker team was as dominant, even though they both did get 100 points. It felt like the Vincent Kompany team just had a bit of swagger about them. It was a bit more sort of structured, wasn't it, the Scott Parker team? But then I said Saturday after we won, for some reason, I don't know whether you feel the same, Joe, the supporters, even though Vincent Kompany's team, they did so well, they went into the Premier League. I never thought they really took to the team in the Premier League. Did you? It just
No,
feels a bit
I agree
different
with
with
that.
this team.
Yeah, it's just something about them. I don't know what it was. I'm not saying they didn't care or anything like that. There was just something about the team that you just couldn't resonate with. There's something about Burnley fans, and I think the fact that we've had so long under Dyche, that sort of team like that'll run through a brick wall for you kind of resonates more with Burnley fans, and you get that more with the Scott Parker side than the Vincent Kompany side.
Yeah, I think even as well with Vincent Kompany, might be a bit harsh on him, but did you sort of get the impression he won us the league and he was the star? Whereas Scott
Hindsight's
Parker,
a wonderful thing.
bit more humble, maybe, is that right?
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing. At the time, I didn't feel like that, I'll be honest with you. And I don't know if you remember it, Richard Keys did a piece on how Vincent Kompany's all about Vincent Kompany, and all he's bothered about is how Vincent Kompany looks. He's not bothered about Burnley. All he wants to do is to be seen to be doing the right style. And I went mad at the time. I'm like, what a load of nonsense. But when I look back now, I agree with that. And I agree with what you've just said there. I think it's all about
togetherness
Vincent.
with this team. And maybe, again, the underdog mentality, even in the Championship last season, because it was a slow burner, wasn't it? You're thinking that when you look at the 100 points, that the Vincent Kompany team just, I'd do games, and even if it was 0-0 after 10 minutes, I'd be sort of doing the game. But I was saying in commentary, this game's already done. Just the way the opposition set up, you thought, okay, it might be 0-0 after 5 minutes, after 10 minutes, but the game's already over. You just knew what was coming. Whereas the Scott Parker team got to 100 points, and how about all the 0-0 draws? Oxfords and Derbies and teams down the bottom, Portsmouth, and you think of, I don't know how many points they could have had, probably threw away sort of 20 points.
Well, obviously, you mentioned one of your former clubs there, Pompey. We could have beaten Reading's record, another one of your former clubs, if it weren't so many 0-0s that season. Yeah,
all those 0-0s and going back to the Vincent Kompany, I was actually at the Reading game where
I was there as well.
A 0-0
that
draw.
Another 0-0, weren't it? Yeah, another 0-0.
Kompany made about 9 changes, and Reading celebrated. It was the best 0-0 draw in the club's history, I think, and because there's no doubt about it. As the season was going, that the unbeaten run and how dominant they were, I was worried. I suppose if you are going to lose the record, then you lose it to Burnley.
For you,
I don't mind that, but it's still nice. It's still going, and we'll see what happens this season. I would like to think what I've seen of the Championship this season, I wouldn't think it's in danger, but I don't know. Coventry getting it going under Frank Lampard.
I think they'll fade. Personally, although big result for them at the weekend. So shout out to Coventry for that win. Enjoyed that one.
That was the banker, wasn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, let's sort of like go back to sort of like the weekend. Obviously, you mentioned it already. A massive win. I mentioned it in the introduction. Beating Leeds 2-0. What were your thoughts on the game, please, mate?
Yeah, well, so important, wasn't it? And if you remember the game last year, Joe, it was the 0-0, and it wasn't very good, was it? It was a bit of a stalemate, and both sides cancelled each other out. But I actually felt this was, even though it was quite even, it was a bit more exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I thought both sides were doing well, but then the first goal's always going to be so important, and the ball in by Carl Walker. I can remember putting plenty of crosses in myself.
I was going to say that was Glen Little-esque, that weren't it?
I'd be proud of that one. And it was finished. The game was really decided by 2 moments of real quality, wasn't it? And a couple of seasons ago, when we went down, it always seemed to be that teams would do that against us. It was either a great, like a goal of the season, or a great ball, a great pass, and it was never us doing it the other way. But that was the difference, wasn't it? I'm sure Leeds will say that the possession, especially in the second half, the way the second half played out, like Leeds, it was total domination on the stat sheet, wasn't it? I know people talk about XG and possession and shots on target.
You're not a fan.
I think Leeds would have probably won every stat apart from the most important one, and that's how many goals you score. And then the second goal by Chalno, it was the first goal in a Burnley shirt. He could probably be here 10 years, and he probably won't better that. So we've seen the cross of the season so far and the goal of the season so far, and you're going to have to go some to beat it, aren't you?
Yeah, really, genuinely, if that were Fernandes, Haaland, anyone like that, it's talked about for months, that tuna goal, isn't it? Chowner. Sorry, I call him tuna because I can't pronounce anything, basically.
Yeah.
But it's such a good goal.
Well, Joe, there are a few players now at Burnley that we're having trouble with a few of them. It's not like the old days, is it? Like Smith, Cook, Little, Weller.
Little,
Blake,
perfect.
it's pretty easy. Davis.
I'd love that job. BBC Lancashire, that's the perfect role for me. Like, genuinely, I'd love it.
Definitely
but
noticed that when I first
that.
started doing it, Joe, you definitely started to notice that over the years the names you have to get to games now and you're going through some of the pronunciations.
Yeah, are you asking like Andy and your co-commentators like how you pronounce this?
Yeah, how are you going to say this and how are you going to say that? And sometimes as well, even the clubs don't know it. It'll be the players that say that this is my name. And so, yeah, like I said, in the last sort of 25 years, I think it's fair to say the Premier League in particular, but then even dropping down to the Championship, there's plenty of foreign players now.
Yeah, it's difficult. But yeah, speaking of names that is difficult to pronounce, I call him Big Leslie Ugochukwu.
Yeah, Ugochukwu.
Yeah, he's come into the side, and obviously we've now got that midfield three. What are your thoughts on that midfield three? Because obviously we've got Big Les, we've got Florentino, we've got Cullen, and I feel like that's where the game was won. Yes, I know that Leeds had a lot of the ball and stuff. I respect that, but in transition, when we were getting the ball, Les, Florentino, and Cullen were just perfect at getting it up to the forward players. And that's the first time we've seen that midfield three, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic.
I did the game a couple of weeks ago at Villa, and I was a bit surprised Ugochukwu didn't start. Because I've been impressed with him in the early matches. And so I thought, okay, yeah, there are a few things where Scott Parker, he's made a few selection decisions, even the formation as well. I wasn't sure. We got caught out on Saturday because I said, I think this is the time you've started the season with the five at the back, which I thought was a bit of a surprise after what happened last season where we were so successful with the 4-3-3 formation. It just surprised me how we turned up on Tottenham in the first game, went with the five at the back. We've stuck with it. I know we've said about the fixture list, but now it's felt the first 7 games are always going to be tough. Now the season started against Leeds. And then we all saw the team sheet and thought, okay, Scott Parker, he's done what we all said. We all believe he should have gone the 4-3-3. And then we start the game and but it is the five at the back again. So it called us out. But the midfield three, I said before the game, when the team came, I don't know whether you feel the same, but other than Lyle Foster missing, if you put Lyle Foster in for Fleming, although I did think Fleming, he did pretty well, different type of player to Foster, as we know. But I felt that was probably our strongest team. Joe, don't you think?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised to see Foster missing because he did say in the press conference, didn't he, that it's only dead leg and we expect him to be available. And then he wasn't there. I'm glad you mentioned Fleming, though, because I will mention that because I thought, I'm more than happy to bow down to Glen Little's knowledge on football. Don't get me wrong. But I thought it was relatively quiet, but the service that I think it highlighted the fact that the strikers don't get a great lot of service because Lyle Foster consistently gets criticised because I'm more than happy to admit he doesn't score enough goals, but he doesn't really he's not really getting chances. But what Lyle does a lot is he drops deep and he tries to hold the ball up and bring the forward players in. I feel like Foster does that better than Fleming, even though I thought that Fleming tried to get in the box a little bit more at the weekend and didn't drop as deep as much as Lyle. But when he did drop deep, I don't think he did it as well as Lyle. But obviously, you said there.
I thought in the first half because the one thing, when I did the Villa game, if you remember under Vincent Kompany, Lyle Foster away at Villa Park probably had his best game for Burnley, didn't he?
Yeah, it was really good that game.
But we even equalised. He got in behind, and in the Premier League, where a lot of teams do play this high line, Lyle Foster, he can stretch the game. And I remember that game at Villa where we actually probably sums up the season. We played really well, but then Sanderberg, I think it was, he got sent off. Foster then gets in behind, goes through and scores a good goal. And then we gave a penalty away late, didn't we? Was it Ramsey?
Yeah.
And we ended up losing 3-2. So I was at Villa saying, well, Lyle Foster, hopefully he remembers that game. And he's more sort of in behind, isn't he? Where Fleming, he hasn't really got the pace. But the second half, because Leeds had all the possession, he didn't really get a lot of service. But I thought in the first half, do you remember some of the layoffs more where he's coming short and it was the little flicks and touches?
Yeah.
The one in particular, the break we had, that we had 3 or 4 passes and it was a lovely layoff from Fleming and Brun Larsen got away. And he had the 1-against-1 on the edge of the box, and he needed to be like me against Bristol Rovers, but he couldn't beat his man. He never. But I said, if Brun Larsen had managed to beat his man and scored that, you're talking about another goal of the season. It's probably been the best passage of play that Burnley have had all season. But then we didn't see it as much in the second half. Now you go back to what you said. He did get in the box. Do you remember Carl Walker, the burst? I know.
Everyone's been talking about that.
At the start of the season. I remember all those years ago going to Sheffield United and seeing an 18-year-old Carl Walker. In the first day of pre-season, we did the round-robin tournament, the 4 teams of 6. He's on my side. And I remember just watching him thinking that this boy, he's got some chance. And then the pre-season, under Kevin Blackwell, it was more like cross-country running it was at Sheffield United, as you can imagine. So Carl Walker doing the running, doing the 400 metres around the training ground. And I just remember looking at him thinking, this boy, he's an absolute Ferrari. And it was great to see him. I backed him because all the talk about then at Sheffield United was Kyle Norton, if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember
and both of them went to Tottenham. Would you believe it was Kyle Norton for 7 million? Kyle Walker was just the afterthought. We'll take both for 3 million. And everyone at Sheffield United said to me, Kyle Norton's the better player. He's the one. And I said, no, I don't see it. It's Kyle Walker. So I've sort of seen him over the years, how his career's gone, and like, pleased for him. He's arguably the most decorated player in Burnley history. I'd imagine, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But
I'd say so. You could have a look at obviously the likes of Gazza, Ian Wright, David May potentially, but you're probably all right.
Yeah, I forgot about Maisie, who I played with. Yeah. So I thought he was a great signing, but I did have quite a few people say to me, "Nah, Glenn, he's washed up. He's finished." So, okay, I've not really seen him the last season at City. I know he went to AC Milan as well. I'm not sure what happened out there, but I thought, no, I thought it was a great signing for us. The experience, the leadership, someone been there, seen it and done it. And at the minute, I think I've been proven right. And the burst of pace down the wing, when he knocked it, and when was it, Stoik trying to get there and just let him go. And I've seen Lyle Fleming burst into the box, and the way the game was going, we'd hardly had an attack for about 20 minutes. So he burst down the wing. I've seen Fleming try to make the box. Admittedly, there was 2 or 3 Leeds players around him, but I was expecting Carl Walker to just fizz it across the 6-yard box, and we'll see if Fleming could have gotten the end of it. He turned out, and I thought, he's turned out, and he slowed the game down. Leeds have got now players back. 3 or 4 passes later, Chalner, top corner.
Top bins.
Okay, what did I know? Maybe he did the right thing turning out instead of crossing it.
Yeah. To be fair, I think you could probably do a few finishes like that back in the day. It were a great goal.
Well, not sure about the left foot, but
potentially.
How he hit it. It was the pace, but then the dip. I think at first the goalkeeper probably thought, "I've got this," but it then about 5 yards before the goal, it seemed to take off again, didn't it? And it was some strike, and it was needed because the Leeds were pressing, weren't they? They did have all the ball. There was a couple of chances went begging from. I suppose the big chance for Leeds was the one that hit the post, wasn't it? Where it was Anthony give it away. But again, maybe a bit different this season, where the Vincent Kompany season, it seemed like every time someone made a bad mistake, it was in the back of the net. And it was just deja vu. It was like game after game after game. And it wasn't just one people. And I know Trafford conceded a lot of goals. I wouldn't even blame him, even though I felt at times he was under pressure, a bit of a struggle, but it was just the amount of games that seemed to happen. But then we've got away with that one against Leeds. That was important to Bravka. All credit to him. The amount of saves, what a season he's having so far. I'm not quite sure it's good that your goalkeeper's player of the season so far, but we might be saying that a lot this season about the Bravka. What an important save that was.
If we finish 17th and he's a player of the season, I will not care one jot. I will not care one jot. I will take it. You keep mentioning, and while obviously I completely agree because the stats prove it, that Leeds had a lot of the ball. Do you think it was part of our plan to let them have the ball?
Yeah, I'm not sure because if you remember Ellen Road last season, I did that game and we scored early with Koleosho on the breakaway, didn't we? And you thought, what a start that is, because we knew. I said, you talk about a pundit. We don't always get everything right, Joe, but I said after that game, how early it was in the season, but I said, you're probably watching one, and I forgot at the end of the season. Now we're talking about it. I ended up being right because I said at the time, you're probably watching the two best teams. This is first against second, and about 8 months later, and you couldn't get any closer, Joe, could you? Injury time to decide the league title.
Yeah,
suppose we're not bothered, though, are we? Like, we have won the championship.
I've said before, if we hadn't won it already, like so recently, and under Dyche as well, I probably would be a little bit more fuming. But just the way it happened.
But as long as you go up as a player, I always used to say at the start of the season, it doesn't matter how you go up, as long as you go up, you don't start on extra points for winning the championship. It's a level playing field. But
look at Sunderland.
How close the teams were last season. It's interesting always when you see how close two teams are in the championship to see how they're going to cope with the Premier League and the signings are. I think that Dan said before the game, we might have had 4 players from that game and they had 5. So both sides have changed. Yeah. But then again, I did feel it was quite an even game in the first half, but then it was all Leeds, wasn't it, possession-wise in the second half, whether it was our plan to sit in because that Leeds game at Ellen Road, I think at one stage that was up to about 78% possession last season. Was that a tactic? I don't know, or whether it was just the way Leeds play. I think Leeds are more like the Vincent Kompany Burnley, aren't they? Even when we were a goal up, I was hoping that might rattle Leeds a bit and knock the stuffing out of them. But then when we went 1-0 up, no, it was Leeds still. They didn't change the way they played for the whole 90 minutes, did they? They went 2-0 down. It was still, we're going to have plenty of possession. They didn't force balls into the box. It was basically plan A the whole game. And that's, I suppose that's Leeds, which does remind me of the Vincent Kompany Burnley. And going up, I didn't like Leeds because of that fact. I saw them as well. They're just going to play. They're going to want the possession. I thought they'd concede goals at the back and taking that into the Premier League. They're not going to have the 75, 80% like they had in the Championship. They're going to find out the hard way. You can't do that, as Vincent Kompany found out.
Yeah, I think the problem with Leeds this season is they don't have any goal scorers. Like, you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front, who I don't necessarily dislike. I think he's a decent player, but he's not known for his bags of goals. And Jack Harrison, who, again, I think is a top-end Championship player rather than a Premier League player personally. But when a couple of chances fell to him or were falling to him on Saturday, there was a sense of relief inside me. Oh, it's Jack Harrison. We're probably going to be okay. I think that's the problem with Leeds. They can have all the possession in the world, but if you don't have any goal scorers, you're not going to win any games.
Yeah, but I suppose... Yeah, looking at their start, though, they haven't had a bad start. All the teams now, far better than what we've seen the last 2 years.
Including us 2 years ago.
Everyone's up and running. Everyone's got a few wins now. We don't get carried away yet because we know how tough the Premier League season is, and you can easily go on a bad run where, like in the Championship, if you're a decent side, you always feel you're only sort of 2 or 3 games away from turning it round, and you lose a couple. But it's okay. We Saturday with a couple of games at the turf. We'll soon win a couple and we're all right again. But in the Premier League, as we've seen, you can go, forget about 2 or 3 games, you can go 2 or 3 months without a win.
Really can.
Especially this early on in the season with the international breaks as well. That always gets involved. It's September, October, November. So that you waste another week there. If you do start badly, very difficult. So it is good that we've had a couple of wins. Sunderland, what a start they've had. But
they've had a great start.
You're talking about fixture list, like how bad ours was to them. That's nice for you if you're Sunderland, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Out a bit. You still got to win the games, I know.
Exactly. They've still got to win the games, and now they've got a tough run coming up. So fingers crossed for us that they start to fade. You mentioned there, like obviously, Big win, boost survival chances, but you can easily go like 2-3 months without a win. Where do you think this leaves Burnley in terms of our survival chances? Obviously, it's been a tough start with the fixtures, but we still managed to get 2 wins and a draw in there. So 7 points at this stage of the season is quite a good return, isn't it? So
definitely.
Looking ahead now, where do you think Burnley will finish at the end of the season? I know it's going to be tough.
I said before the game, this spell now, because just before you started this show, Joe, you said about it, we haven't been bad. We haven't been great, but we haven't been bad. But it was just the tough fixtures.
Yeah.
But if you went through the start of the season and you said, right, let's see what Burnley can do. How many points are we going to have? Would you say every game has probably gone to plan?
Yeah, probably. I'd say we probably are where we expected to be.
You lose at Villa, you lose at Old Trafford, although I think we've said I'm a United fan. Yeah, great win for just Anfield. I'm still not convinced, but certainly you're still going to Old Trafford, even though we know this is the worst Manchester United team probably in the Premier League history. But it's still Old Trafford. It's still a test, isn't it, for a young Burnley side, an experienced team. And then the home games, you'd say beat Sunderland, draw against Forest, and beat Leeds. So you're pretty much where you should be. But I said before the game, even though it's a 38-game season, I said it's a 4-game season for us. These next 4 games, Arsenal, if you could do what you did to Liverpool, you get plenty of men behind the ball and you never know, you might be able to nick a result. But the Wolves game, I'm going to be doing the game Sunday, and then the West Ham game. The next 4 games, if you can get 7-8 points, then you could have a real chance of staying up. If it went badly, again, you're Vincent Kompany. You're already sort of giving yourself a mountain to climb and needing snookers. So you've done the first bit. You've beaten Leeds. Can you go to Wolves and get another win? You're not going to get a better chance, are you?
Yeah, well, that's perfect. And I'm glad you've sort of like started talking about the Wolves game, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about next. Obviously, a massive game coming up, massive 3 fixtures now. Obviously, you mentioned 4 fixtures earlier, but you're including Leeds in that. Like you said, we've got the first one out of the way, got the win. Wolves, I think, at this stage, haven't won a game yet, have they? I think they're on 2 points. So they've had a couple of draws. So they're going to be well up for it because they need to win. This is the problem. I think they've already lost at home to Leeds. So they might be really, really up for it. It reminds me of a few years ago when we played Newcastle around this time.
And Sunderland they've lost, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So true. So we've lost against them 2 already. So they're going to be well up for this. So how do you look at this one? How do you think it's going to go?
Well, the problem, one of the big problems with the Vincent Kompany team, it never won back-to-back games. And it was a struggle, but every time there was that odd win, you were thinking, right, can they get some momentum? Can they win again and now put a run together to get out of trouble? It just never happened. And there was a few forced dawns. I remember I was at the Sheffield United game. We beat them 5-0 at the turf. You're thinking, right, can we go on a run? No. I was at the Fulham game just before Christmas, and that's always important, the Christmas period, because the games come thick and fast. It's a chance to get 7-8 points. We went down to Fulham. That season, it was probably our best performance and best win of the season. We went down to Craven Cottage, won 2-0, 2 good goals from Sanderberg and Odebear. And you were hoping, right, can we have a good Christmas? No, never happened. And we could never get it going.
It was difficult, wasn't it?
You're not going to get a better chance now, though, like we said, because you're playing the team that's bottom. So this is the best chance to get back-to-back wins. But never easy. I know from my experience all them years ago, 25 years ago, Wolves, I loved playing there. They played a hi-ho Wolverhampton. I used to sing along with a song. The place was always rocking. The pitch, it was always a nice pitch, a big pitch. So for a player like me, it always suited me. You get lots of time and space. Unfortunately, I won once in about 8 attempts there at Wolves. It wasn't happy ground for me, even though it was a great place to play. But Wolves are up against it. Like we said, they've lost to Leeds. They've lost to Sunderland at the weekend. So again, what an opportunity you got to go there, and if you can, does give you a lift. Even then, you maybe you sneak a point against Arsenal, and then you're on to West Ham, who are struggling. So you could give yourself a really good chance early on. You could be in a far better position after that West Ham game than you ever were 2 years ago in the Vincent Kompany team.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I do want to keep these to around half an hour, Glenn, because obviously we're going to get you on every single week, every single 2 weeks. Yeah, Paul did say that. I'll get you on every couple of weeks. Hopefully, we will be able to sit down and do a similar style interview than what I did with Robbie when I talk about your career, similar to what you did with the Under the Cosh lads.
We might need about 3 hours for that one, Joe.
Don't worry, mate. I'll block out the diary. But before we do wrap it up, there's obviously some breaking news in the wider world of football, which also kind of relates to Burnley. And that's former Burnley manager Sean Dyche. He's expected to become the Nottingham Forest manager. Now, I know he's got ties with the club. He's got ties with the city. I think he lives around there. But I am personally surprised. I don't know if you were doing stuff for BBC Lancashire back then, but when in 2018 we played Olympiacos, and obviously Burnley had this big do with Marinakis, didn't they? Who's the owner of Forest as well.
Yeah.
And Dyche was very critical of him, very critical of the way he handled the situation. But now he's going to be working under him at Forest.
Yeah.
Are you surprised to see? Yeah. Are you surprised to see Dyche go and work with an owner like that?
Yes, but we know football managers. Any job is available. They're there for them. And for a team like Forest, who have had a bad start, haven't they? Just when you think how well they did last season, what a roller coaster. Because the season, even under the Vincent Company, we went down, but Forest had the points deduction and they were in a bit of trouble. Did they actually beat us at the turf late on? So did we have to win to try and stay up? And
I don't think they relegated us. Or did they? Yeah, they did. I can't remember. No,
or last game of the season.
No, and Spurs relegated us.
Spurs, that was it. I was at White Hart Lane for that Spurs game. And then Chris Wood did Chris Wood come back and he scored against us. Doesn't he? So I suppose that helps Sean Dyche. He'll have Chris Wood back again, who did well for us at Burnley under him, didn't it? But it doesn't surprise me, like football managers, that it's just a job, isn't it? And it's in the Premier League.
I guess
but this owner, like you said, good luck. How long it will last, we'll have to wait and see.
I just cannot see Dyche resonating with Marinakis.
No,
I think they'll clash.
But if he does well, Joe, then everyone's happy. If you're winning games, it doesn't matter who the manager is.
I guess so.
Yeah, who the manager is, who the owner is, win games, and everyone will be happy.
It is frustrating, again, to see him come into a relegation-threatened team alongside us, like he did a couple of years ago at Everton, where he got the better of us. Hopefully he doesn't get the better of us again now with Forest.
We'll see. Well, by the time we go to the City ground, was it 3 or 4 months away?
Yeah, he might be sacked. Might be gone.
Might not be Sean Dyche. We'll see. But we wish him all the best, though.
We do. We do. Glenn, we'll leave it there. I'm going to press end stream, but when I press end stream, please stay there. I'll just have a quick chat to you about certain things.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, no worries, Glenn. Absolute pleasure, by the way. Really great to have you on. Obviously, it's pinch me moments having people like you and Robbie on. Absolutely fantastic, mate. And you've been great value as well. But yeah, like I said earlier in the show, we will try and do this every couple of weeks, depending on my schedule, depending on Glenn's schedule and things like that. But the Glen Little Podcast, as we're calling it, is now a regular feature on Turfcast. But thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. We will see you next time.